You're ready to recruit your Fortnite team? As you know, you need 3 teammates to go into arena groups. And I think I've done a good job of giving you a selection on potential teammates. Now let's just say that these teammates are going to be a little unorthodox for a word. I have connections with some people that will get that where I can give you some really interesting and helpful teammates. Where is this? Well, I can't tell you name or location. Well, let's just say that this facility, let's just say containment facility, has been in the news for the last few years. And through my connections and abilities, I have been able to get access to them and help and get them to cooperate with me. How am I doing this? Well, if I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. And while I have a few suggestions as to who you should choose, it's ultimately your decision, and I'll let you make it. But I can tell you that I have connections with the SCP facility. Now, don't freak out. Stay with me. I also have the ability to have them cooperate with me and you to help you give you the best chances to win in your arena matchups. So, are you ready to hear what I have come up with for you? Alright, promise you won't run. Promise you won't turn me into the authorities. Alright, well, let's get started. Alright, up first we have SCP-173. Very often in the facility, he is known as the Stone. This one you probably know of. If you were to see a photo, you know exactly who this is. It's just a big humanoid creature that is made of stone. And it will not often anything, it will not move unless there's no eye contact on it. So, your initial reaction to it? I know, it's a little scary, but trust me, it will work. Now, the strength of SCP-173 is that he's very fast when no one's looking at him. He probably converts a map in probably record time in like maybe the span of a couple of minutes if no one's looking at him. Like, I don't think people realize how fast he is, partly because you can't see him. So if you need him to like go to the other side of the map for whatever reason, then he can do that as long as you aren't looking at him. And I think that brings us to his weakness. Obviously, if you're looking at him, then he's not going to be effective at all. He won't be able to move or even shoot the gun. So if you need a sniper, I would say this is probably the best because he's pretty smart. He can learn sniping skills, and he's fast. In my opinion, I think that's a good choice if you like more close range and you want a sniper in the back. However, if you're more akin to sniping, I would suggest going for someone else for your 3, because I have 10 here, and you can only choose, as you know, you can only choose 3. So, is that yay or nay on the Stone, SCP-173? And the reason? Makes sense to me. Alright. Alright. Next up we have SCP-049, commonly known as the Bird Mask. Of all the SCPs I'm going to give you, this is probably one of the more human-like ones, as he's supposedly a human. I have not really worked on him as much, but what's great about him, his weakness is going to be a real lack of ability. He's kind of slow, kind of meanders, and probably won't take up to shooting very well. So as a pure shooter, he will be more of a mid-range person. However, his strength comes in a more gimmicky sense. With a downed player, you could potentially get them on your side with his ability to, in essence, create zombies that serve him. Now don't worry, this is temporary as they don't actually kill anyone. At least to my knowledge. I haven't read that part of the story is redacted, but we'll get to that. But that's a discussion for another day. But in essence, he's good if you need a not if you need a third person who's not that big of a risk. Again, you have to train him. I don't think he's that adept to using a gun, but with a little bit of training, I think that he could be a really good asset and to increase your chance of winning. So what's your initial reaction? Is that a yes? Is that a yay or nay on Burn Mask? 4049. And the reason? No, the people he turns into zombies, bad word, but the people he turns into zombies, nothing happens to them. They will be fine after the match, trust me. And, of course, if they aren't, you will never know about it. I kid. Alright, ready to move on to the next one? Alright, the next one we will talk about is SCP 106. Many people in the facility call him Radical Larry. Alright, this SCP might be a little hard to coach because he's a bit strong-willed. However, if you can look past that, here is a really great talent, especially for up close. Why? Well, he has this thing called the pocket dimension. I believe I think that's 106-A, but I have to look that up. I don't have it with me right now. But basically, he can go into this pocket dimension and move through space. So that means he can disappear in one area under the ground and then reappear in another. And that would be really great for short range, especially if you're getting towards the late game and people are starting to build bases around you. So what you'd want to do is get him in there and get him underneath a tower, not a base, but a tower. I don't think they build bases anymore. And knock out all 4 of the supporting or 5, if you include the ramp, of the supporting structures, and that should help a lot in your victories. Of course, the weaknesses will be that he's a bit strong-willed, so getting him to do anything long or medium range could prove difficult, as his eyesight is not the best, so that would also hurt long range. So if you're apt with sniping, I would say make him your short range guy. He's not the fastest, but when you can disappear and reappear where you need to, you don't need to be. So, is that a yay or nay on 106 Radical Larry? And the reasons? Alright. Let's see here. Next one we have is SCP 096. Now, 096 is a little intimidating looking. Basically, he's just like 10 to 12 foot tall, slender, pale white creature, humanoid creature. Kind of reminds me of Slender Man without the suit. In fact, that's probably exactly what it looks like, creepily enough. It's one of those things, this is going to be one of those boom or bust type of people that you'd prefer, fighters that you'd prefer. Basically, his thing is, if you look at his face, he will charge at you and won't stop until he gets you. This has a really strong, this makes him really strong and really weak at the same time. First off, the strength is obvious. His stamina is impeccable, as if a competitor looks at his face, he will not stop until that competitor is defeated. Makes him deadly in short range, medium and short range. I don't think there'd be any problem teaching him to use an assault rifle or a submachine gun, so that should be fine. It should be fun, actually. I don't know if he would attack a tower. You'd have to experiment with that. Of course, the weakness will be is his recharge. You see, when he gets somebody after his phase, he has to recharge for a little bit. Now, you can probably work on that a little, but he would be better for like early game to get a couple of people out early and have a recharge and get ready for the later game. But that means you'd either have to leave something behind or just move him and hope that he just that the storm does not hit him while he's recharging. Yeah, he won't be able to move much at all while he's recharging. So you gotta keep that in mind. But again, if you have some competent people, if you get some competent SCPs with you, I think that this would be really good. Short range. So, is that a yay or a nay on 096? And the reasons? Alright, the next SCP I will mention to you is, let's see here. SCP-029. Now, SCP-029 appears like a young teenage girl, but I assure you she is far from that. What makes her deadly is that she has the reaction times that are like 4 times faster than a human's. And she has a real lust for blood, if you will. That's just an expression. But basically, what that means is that she will not stop until she gets her target. What makes her unique in her appearance is that her skin is mostly pure, true black. I'm not talking about like, really dark skin, like many people have in, say, Africa. We're talking about pitch black skin with some spots, including on her face, of albino, which would be really white. Not white like a European, but really, really white. But it's going to be that reaction time and her speed and her tenacity is going to be a strength. The real weakness is going to be her stubbornness and her thick-headedness. Basically, her aptitude is strangling people as opposed to stay shooting them. So you're going to have to convince her that she's going to want to shoot people. Much like the other two I've mentioned, Racolary and 096, she's also going to be good in short range. Maybe medium range if she likes the shotgun, but I don't think she's going to be patient enough for a long range attack. So I think that she could be a good asset if you're able to get her to do what you say. And that could be an issue. It could also be an issue depending on the gender she fights, as she apparently has a strong aptitude to fighting males and females. I'm not sure if that's going to affect it too much, but it's a variable you would probably want to consider. So is that a yay or nay on 029? She does have a nickname in the facility, but it's classified. In fact, a lot about her is classified. There may be some things we don't know about her, so just keep that in mind. And the reason? Alright, the next SCP, let's see here. The next one I will talk about with you is SCP-999. Now this one is gonna sound kind of weird, but bear with me as I talk to you about it, okay? Basically, he's a orange gelatin mass that can shapeshift, and that includes shapeshift into a human to hold a gun. Probably make himself really small or really big, depending on what the call's for. Obviously, if he's running, he's gonna want really long legs. But if he's shooting up close, he's gonna be really small, so it's hard to hit. Probably medium range. The big strength is that he can shapeshift. He can shapeshift. He can probably carry a lot more. He'd be a good moving backpack, basically. And he can shapeshift to hide in really unusual areas. Maybe under a house, maybe right up against a tree where you can't see him. You know, it's like the possibilities quite endless. But unfortunately, that does have a few drawbacks. The big one is probably going to be really obvious. He's bright orange, so when the arena goes to night, it's going to be hard to hide him as well, as he will obviously stand out. And the other problem will be that his mind is closer to a dog, a loyal dog, a pet, than a human. And that's going to be an issue not in the way you teach him how to shoot a gun, because we did some experiments, and he does understand basic commands better than a dog, closer to a human, closer to a child, basically. The big issue is the integral parts of the game: what to build, how to build, when to attack, when to retreat. His mode will be basically attack, because that's what he was taught to do in practice. And since you're only given about a couple of weeks of practice until the arenas start, I would make sure that you train him the most of all of these people. This could be an issue if you have, say, a 029er on your team where you have to give special attention because they're going to be hard to train. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to train two of these people, because this one's the opposite. It's simply that he may not have mental capacity. But if you're able to do that, I think he'll be great in the medium range. He can run up really quickly and then shapeshift into a small chunk and shoot, while the opponent has no idea what's going on. Of course, like I said, it comes with drawbacks, but who knows? Your risk might yield a great reward. So, is that a yay or nay on 999? And the reasons? Okay, next we're going to talk about SCP-527, also known as Mr. Fish from Wondertainment, Dr. Wondertainment. Finding humanoid, or at least SCPs that can hold guns, was challenging. My initial thought was to find more from the Wondertainments into all humans, but that is a really hard group to get access to, as despite my high position, it's hard to yield that kind of thing. But I was able to find one that is better because it's basically human. You see, Mr. Fish is a regular human man with a fish's head. And from our experiments, it has been really hard to find what is so special about him, as he just seems to be a human with a fish head. Most of the Wondertainment SCPs tend to have some kind of abilities, but this one doesn't seem to, and it's really unusual. But I did a little, let's just say, experimenting on my own. Not allowed to do that. That's punishable by, well, never mind what's punishable by. But I have found a couple of things from him. Well, first off, before you ask, no, he can't breathe underwater. Sorry. What he can do, however, is he basically has eyes that can zoom in on things. Who knew? I'm not sure if fish can do it. I don't think they can. But in the daytime, he can see really clearly and really sharply. So that's perfect for a sniper. Probably makes him the best sniper in terms of aiming because obviously he can see really far. So include the zoom into his zoom, and he can probably shoot like halfway across the map. Exaggerated, of course, but who knows? The biggest weakness for him is simply that he's not really that extraordinary and kind of moves like a middle-ager, as he probably is. So he's not going to be the fastest, and he doesn't have the strength that the other ones have. However, if you want a pure sniper with a person who will listen to you, he may be a little sarcastic and a little annoying, but he will listen because nothing else better to do. I would say Mr. Fish here is a great addition if you need some long-range help. To make sure you find a sniper rifle, because in this recent update, they're a little hard to find. So is that a yay or nay on Mr. Fish 527? And the reasons? Okay, next we're going to talk about, I think I have it here. Yeah, SCP-2006. Now, on the surface, he doesn't look that special. He just looks like some guy with a really weird-looking head, like a helmet. But what makes him intimidating and useful is that he can take the form of fictional villains with his own goal to scare as many as he can. You see, he can turn into many villains and, in some aspects, adapt their abilities. Like, if he turns into Darth Vader, he won't be able to use the Force or anything. But what he will be able to do is, say, if he turns into the Xenomorph or Predator, he will be able to use their speed and athleticism to get to places. And I think you can plainly see the benefits of this, as if he is something like a Xenomorph, that's going to scare a lot of people. And if you're scared, that will increase your heart rate and make aiming much harder than it needs to be. So that's his strength. His weakness is just his inability to really listen. As if he sees if he has a target set similar to 096, he would go after that target and try to basically get them out, get them until he can. Of course, there's no recharging rate, so after he's done, he just goes to another target and gets them. The big issue with him is that I have not really found a good way to control who he turns into. So if he turns like the Hulk, that's fine. He can jump. Sorry, not the Hulk, but you get the idea. But if he turns into like a really heavy, lazy villain, then that's going to cause issues. Like if you return to Hal from Space Odyssey, well, that's not good because Hal doesn't even move. So you're really taking a chance with him. But if you need a good medium to short range shooter, or even long range, if he turns into like a sniper like the Predator, who knows? I think that would be a great addition. It's a risk, but who knows? Maybe that risk is what you need to win a championship. So, yay or nay on 2006. And the reasons? Alright, 2 more to go before you have to decide. Alright, this one's a little unique. This one's going to be a little unique. It's SCP-076, or more specifically, SCP-076-2. You see, SCP-076 is technically a cube, is a holding cell in the shape of a cube. It houses the humanoid 076-2. What makes this thing unique is the only way for him to be active is for him to be woken up. And there's no real consistent way to open it to wake him up, but I have a feeling that once in the heat of battle, it will be, that will probably wake him up. In which case, the strengths are immeasurable as he will bust out of his cube and go into a rampage. What makes this dangerous is that he has a lot of stamina and health, which will make it very difficult to get rid of him, and his speed is almost blinding. So if you want somebody who is going to be valuable short range and in the late game, because honestly that's probably the only way you're going to be able to do this, I would say SCP-076, or 076-2 specifically, is a great addition to your team. The weakness is going to be that you're not going to really be able to use him until the late game where people start to crowd, or early game if you get lucky. The issue is once you leave that bus, that cube is staying there until he is awakened. So for a long while, you're only going to be a trio until you can get that thing woken up. I doubt you'll be able to, since he will perceive you as friendly. So I recommend that you only do this if you have a plan to make it mostly 3. Because unless all 3 of you can survive late game, then you will be a trio for most of the match. And of course the big issue is, what if you land in an area where the storm is going to pass you? Now what? You can't move that cube. So you're going to really, this is probably the most risky, but the most rewarding SCP to choose as your teammate. So, is that yay or nay on 076? And the reasons? Okay. The last SCP I want to go over is SCP-507. Now, getting a good look at him, he doesn't look that remarkable, as he just looks like your run-of-the-mill, middle-aged, 40-year-old Caucasian male. Obviously can't jump or dance, but I'm sure can do something. However, if you're going to dismiss him just on that, I think you're going to be missing out on potentially a really good teammate. While it can't always be controlled, his big ability is teleportation. And we're talking instant. This isn't like Radical Larry where he has to sink into the pocket dimension and then meander into another area. Not to mention it's kind of short range. 507 can literally teleport from one area to next instantaneously, which I don't have to tell you the benefits of that. Not only is that good in short range, it can be deadly. You teleport straight into a tower, just like a Radical Larry, and potentially even faster. Of course, it sounds too good to be true. Well, what's the problem with him? Well, there are 2 problems. The first one is kind of minor, but needs to be said. He's not the most athletic, as, again, he moves like a middle-aged man, so he's not going to move that fast, probably going to drag you along. His ability is going to be average for shooting, probably better short range to medium range, as sniping might be a little difficult unless he's just apt at it, I don't know. The big issue is going to be he can't control his teleportation. He can control where he teleports, but he can't control when he teleports. So the issue will be is he could teleport in places you don't need him to, or you may need a teleportation and it just isn't happening. That is going to be an issue. However, I believe, this is my personal opinion, but I believe he will teleport at a high enough frequency where you will probably get 1 or 2 teleports off that you need. And the good thing is he's not like 999 where he just doesn't understand what you're telling him, or 029 where he's just too pig-headed. He will be more like Fish where he's a human who will listen to you, especially with the ability I have to get SCPs to be more friendly. Alright, with that being said, is that yay or nay on 507? And the reasons? Alright, thank you very much for seeing me. I really hope that we can connect on this. I really think that we have a chance to be champions this year in Fortnite. You're a rookie, I'm a rookie coach, so hopefully that this goes well this year. I will help you in all I can, but ultimately you have to do this on your own. So, you ready to go meet the SCPs? I know you've made your decision on which ones you want. So, ready? Alright, let's go. Thank you for meeting me. I hope this is a great year.